with 3 wins out of 5. At the very least, his continued participation into Group 4 would be assured. So lots of permutations, far too many to go into in detail. But what we can say is that if Dott were to be beaten here, well, he'd be really struggling.
Touching ball.
By the way, there's another match due to start over on table 1 in a few moments' time. Neil Robertson against Ryan Day. Robertson 4 wins out of 4 so far. He's home and dry in terms of making the playoffs in this group. Ryan Day, after just completing a 3-2 win over Mark Davis, well, his fortunes are reviving, and if he could beat Robertson, and that would be his last group match, he might just sneak into the playoffs. Certainly he would have a very healthy chance of making it into 5th place in the group, and therefore moving forward to Group 4, which begins here tomorrow. Well, I think Judd Trump wants to carry on where he left off against Matthew Stevens in his first match here today. 142 total clearance to complete a 3-2 victory. Wow. But Trump won't be making a total clearance here because Dott has spotted the first red. And is he taking on the brown? He is indeed.
Graeme Dott
played that on the understanding that at that pace, more than likely, the brown would block the pocket. But I'm not sure it has. Trump was sure it hadn't.
One.
Pots on colours available, but of course with the bunch still tightly packed, has to try and get into them. Realised that even for him that was asking too much.
3. Foul and a miss.
Well, that was strange.
Trump 3.
Missed the pack
Graeme Dott
entirely.
4.
I can only assume the cue ball there deviated from a true path, maybe caught a finger mark or something. There's no way he's going to miss the reds completely unless that happened. It's accurate, certainly not critical, to say that this season has been very disappointing indeed for Judd Trump. With his skill level, he's been making an awful lot of early exits. Still time to recover though, plenty of snooker left in the season. Of course this Championship League is still in its relatively early stages. After this, for him it's the German Masters, maybe the PTC Grand Finals, World Open, China Open, and of course World Championship as well. And I'm forgetting the Welsh Open down in Newport, so An awful lot of important snooker, big-time snooker to be played before the last ball is potted this season up at the Crucible in early May. Well, it's a fallacy when people say that double kisses are never a good thing. Sometimes they are. In that case, Dott suffered a double kiss. He's left a red on, but it's not easy.
One.
And now with the balls reasonably, invitingly spread, you have to fancy trump to make a few.
Four.
Errant positional shot, but we do know that a red can squeeze past the brown because trump's already squeezed one by it in this frame. This, though, a tougher shot than it should have been.
Five.
Only 24 years of age. You would think the snooker world at his feet. Let's hope this start to the season, the first half, has been just a blip. To put some meat on the bone of what I was telling you,
Nine.
Trump, in the first world ranking event of the campaign, lost in the last 64 to Li Hang. That was the Wuxi Classic. Did nothing of note in 4 PTCs.
$15.
And things haven't improved markedly since. Lost in the opening round of the Shanghai Masters. In that tournament, the top 16 is seeded through to the last 32. He was beaten there in China's biggest city, 5-1 by Michael Holt. Lost in the last 64 of the International Championship to one of Graeme Dott's fellow countrymen, Alan McManus. Then his PTC
94.
form did start to improve. Quarter-final in one, runner-up in the other. But he went to the UK Championship with high hopes as the defending champion and lost in the last 16, 6-4 to Mark Allen. After that, of course, a first-round exit
32.
last week in the Masters at the hands of Marco Fu. And it's been, as I say, unexpectedly low-key. Trump, though, has qualified for the next couple of world ranking events.
39.
German Masters, which will be played at the Tempodrome in Berlin next week. And he's also on the plane to the World Open in Haikou in China, having won his qualifying match for that.
$40.
And it's not been all bad this season. He made his first 147 as a professional in the Antwerp Open in Belgium.
Judd trump 40.
Well, how about that? Pink goes astray. Break ends at 40. Should have been more. But after making that mistake, Trump immediately back at the table.
One.
Well, he didn't play the kiss on the green, but it's worked out just fine.
Five. Six. $12.
50 in front, so this red and one more colour. And Dott will require snookers.
$20. 21. $27. 28.
He's one of those players, Trump, that when he's on a charge, he can make the game look preposterously easy.
34.
Plays very swiftly, very attackingly.
35.
And when he's at his best, he's a handful. A match for anyone.
40. 42. 45. 49. 54. 60. 67 on the frame, Judge.
Well, just before they broke off, I described Judd Trump as a great entertainer, and I'm sure you'll agree that was pretty entertaining. And some invaluable experience on live television against the very best in the business. It's already been a busy Championship League for Judd Trump. He came in right at the start in Group 1, back in early January. He won 5 of his group matches in that group. Got to the final, lost 3-2 to Ricky Walden. And then in Group 2, he topped the group, again winning 5 out of 6 matches, again getting to the final, this time losing 3-0 to Joe Perry. So he's top of the money list for the tournament so far. But he's yet to secure his place in the winners' group, and that is the main objective. Well, barring the fact that the green and the brown are very close together, this is now a good scoring table. You get the feeling whoever gets in will prosper. Well, the only thing that Trump doesn't want is for the blue to block his path to the black. And even if it does, he's still got the snooker in behind green and brown option anyway. And I think he can get through to the black.
Black.
From that distance, from that angle, no real control. So another good pot required.
The trump 8.
Well, luckily he found the gap, and he almost nestled the cue ball in behind green and brown there. Super pot.
1.
Could have done with a slightly fuller kiss on the red. That would have held the cue ball maybe for the black, but at least he's got the yellow to middle. Not easy, mind you. Oh, super. You know, he's been playing great snooker, as this young man, for well over a decade now. Had a phenomenal junior career. Won countless tournaments. Won one of the English Junior Championship age brackets when he was only 10 years of age.
10.
Former English under 13 and 15 champion. And when he was only 15 years of age, he reached the semi-finals of the World Under 21 Championship.
11. $18.
Also at the age of just 14.
19.
He became, at the time, the youngest player ever to make a competitive 147 break, beating Ronnie O'Sullivan's record. And at the age of 13, preposterously, he won the Pontins Open, one of the game's biggest pro-ams up there in Prestatyn in North Wales. And he beat a former world number 6, Mike Hallett, to capture
26.
the title. Now, Mike and I have done an awful lot of commentary together, and he tells a story that after that match at Pontins, where Trump, at the age of 13, beat him in the final, he said, I went off to commiserate with a few drinks, and I was told that outside, Trump was playing on the swings. Mike, by the way, has since retired.
$39. $40.
Because he's an established star now, I think people sometimes forget that it took a while for Trump to establish himself as a professional. Yes, he won this tournament in 2009, but generally speaking, he was mired in qualifying. His career didn't seem to be going anywhere fast until the 2011 China Open.
47.
Went out there to Beijing, suddenly found his form in front of the television cameras, played beautifully
48.
to win the tournament, came home. In his next event, he reached the final of the World Championship, and later that year in 2011 became UK champion.
$54. $55.
Then last season, he won the International
61.
Championship in Chengdu, China, landing the £125,000 first prize with a 10-8 win over Neil Robertson in the final after trailing 8-6. So 3 world ranking titles to his credit already, and a still tender age,
68.
but none added to the collection so far this season.
69.
One has to say, though, if you saw his match this morning and now again here, it seems as though confidence is being restored rapidly.
75. 76. 83. 84.
'Well, if he pots the last red down the side cushion,
91.
then the pink and the yellow, it will be a century without having to dislodge the awkward
92.
green.
$98. 100. Judd Trump 100 and the front.
Well, Judd Trump was eye-catching in the opening frame of this match, and this one, excellent. Oh, he's just conceded now, Robertson. So Ryan Day, who needs to win that match to make it 3 wins out of 6, because that's his last group match, well, he leads Robertson 1-0. A good start by the Welshman.
One. Eight.
So I was telling you during the previous frame that Trump had won 3 world ranking titles. He's also done very well indeed in the Players Tour Championship events, which have been a recent addition to the calendar over the last 4 years. He's actually won 4 of those. One of which was a trailblazing event in the Bulgarian capital,
14.
Sofia. And I can tell you what, after splitting the Reds there, Trump might be blazing a very quick trail to 3-0.
15.
Oh, though. Cue ball there got away. The black is still on, but he wanted to be a whole lot straighter on it. Assisted here by the fact he's left-handed, but this is not easy. Well, wee Graeme Dott rather lost in his chair there in more ways than one.
23. Eight. 30. 31. 38. 39.
'Just looking at the league
46.
table here, the significance of this result, if it is 3-0, and there's no
47.
reason to think it won't be, it would mean from 5 matches, Trump would have 3 wins. It would also mean, at the very worst, he'd be guaranteed to be in Group 4 tomorrow. As for Graeme
54.
Dott, though, he would have 1 win from 5 matches,
55.
and his continued participation in the tournament would therefore hang on the result of his match on Table 1 later this afternoon against Shaun Murphy.
$62.
I'll tell you what, it's a really attractive semi-final
63.
lineup in this Group 3. Bear in mind, Robertson and Murphy already there. Trump fast closing in.
$70.
Well, the master of ceremonies, Rob Walker, at all of the big snooker events, often says about Ronnie O'Sullivan, actually, blink and you'll miss him. Well,
71.
blink and you'll miss this match. It's almost over. Just like that, Dott needs snookers. And after the black wriggled in there, there is no way back. Trump,
78.
like a rocket, has won 3-0.
79.
It's just a matter now of whether Trump can go on to complete back-to-back centuries.
84. $85.
Well, he made the highest break of the group this morning, a 142. This run is now at 92. That means if he pots the last 3 reds with 3 blacks and all the colours, this would be 143.
92.
Ah, loss of concentration. Trying to hole for the angle on the black to break up the 2 reds.